Happy Wednesday afternoon to you. Welcome on in to lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. Powered by Ameren, Illinois. Driven by Munganast St. Louis Acura, and also our new sponsor, Gray Bar. We welcome them on board to many of the things we're doing here on Claibs Online as well. He is Mike Claiborne. I am Joe Roderick, and Claibs a little later in the week than usual, as I know you and many others in the Cardinal family mourning the loss of Mike Shannon over this past weekend. I know you've done a lot and talked a lot about him over the past few days, and I know just how much he meant to you and your life and your career.
Yeah, he meant a lot to me in a lot of different ways. A great broadcast partner for sure, mentor, probably one of my best friends. I mean, because most people would be around Mike during the season. Well, I was around him, all the time. Off season as well. We'd hang out and do dinner and chop it up a little bit. And so I got to know the other side of him over the years, and knowing his family as I do, where I think I was most humbled by a section he wrote about me in his book. And my significant read it to me, and I was like, well, damn, that's pretty cool. So our relationship was one that won't be duplicated for so many different reasons. But I've been saying, he never met a stranger. He was good to everybody. He was selfless. He always will remind you that the broadcast comes first and the game comes first. And he always wanted to include John or Ricky and myself in conversations with other people. If Mike knew him, I knew him. And a lot of relationships I have today are because of Mike introducing me to people. And you listen to the commercials or the Fast Eddie commercials, and you listen to the broadcast and some of the calls that the people are starting to play. And then you realize that, man, he's been around for a lot of things that have gone on in the world. And when I mention world, he might be as worldly of a person as I've ever been around. There's nothing he hasn't done or tried or been to. He knew everybody. I mean, he's a guy that if you told him you were from Kathmandu, he would tell you, oh, yeah, right at the base of the mountain, there's a little restaurant, this and that. And, he knew where every golf course was. But he was a wonderful person, and we'll miss him. And for me, I'm just trying to celebrate his life and not mourn in a morbid way, because that's not something he would want. He would want me laughing, telling stories, things of that nature. And please believe me, there's plenty of stories. But the other thing about him is how much we laugh together. I mean, I said this week, there's not a person on the planet I've laughed with and for than I have Mike Shannon. I mean, every day at the ballpark, we laughed about something. Maybe something he said, maybe something he did, maybe something I said. But we always found a way where we laugh. And Joe, I don't know if people in whatever job they have can actually say, every day I went to work, I laughed.
You mentioned the talking about the way that he introduced you to people, the way that he has that anybody that was a friend of his is a friend of yours. I can say personally to you, I can tell that's something that that has rubbed off on you, the way that you have treated me over the last 3 years, and the way that you treat others as well. As many, we've heard many interviews over the past few days of people talking, and I saw that our friend Joe West was on multiple radio stations, and I called his wife yesterday, Rita, because I think Rita knew Mike better than Joe did. And I told Rita that, and I said, Rita, I go, these stations should be booking you for interviews, not your husband. And she goes, you're not the first one that said that. And when you talk about him knowing everything and going everywhere, what he, we talk about what he meant for the Cardinals, the radio side of the Cardinals. And, I know a few weeks ago, you guys had the affiliates day, and you had all the different affiliates in. The way that Mike helped grow all of the different affiliates, and, hearing Mike Shannon call out your city for some of those towns was such a big deal. And back in the earlier days of his radio career that they would travel to all of those cities, and he would go out there as an ambassador for the Cardinals to all of those cities that he knew, all of these cities and the largest radio network in all of Major League Baseball.
Well, that's kind of how the Cardinal Caravan got started. Mike got with the Anheuser-Busch distributors, and they would get a bus, and they go around and hit every bar in certain towns just to spread goodwill and drink Budweiser. And he really kind of created that thing, and now we do it as a regular doing a winter warm-up weekend. That was all him, and he was all about the people, man. But here's something else that I don't think many people knew. Mike Shannon was as detailed of a person when it came to reading. I mean, he would read a press release and he would make corrections. He was very, very detailed about writing and took it serious. Here's, I think, one of the best examples. He always used to say, when he sees some of these young guys autograph things, he said, you know what? Nobody will ever know who that guy is. And his point being, if they don't recognize your name, and you go in the Hall of Fame, nobody recognizes your autograph. And if you ever notice, his autograph was the same every time. And he was just a stickler about those sort of things and about the pride in wearing the jersey. I'll tell you what drove him crazy. When you see managers and coaches who wear a windbreaker or, something that covers up the uniform, drives him crazy. Even when pitchers do it, he said, do you understand how hard it is to play this game? How hard you put work in order to wear this uniform compared to all the people who try, and you have the nerve to put a sweatshirt on over that uniform? It just used to drive him batty. And the more I thought about it, he's right. Joe, think about all the people we know that would do anything to put a Cardinal uniform or any major league uniform, let alone step in a batter's box. So here these guys have been afforded the opportunity, or should I say privilege, and they cover it up. Drove him nuts.
The game last night, I think the Cardinals did a wonderful job of showing the highlights, showing the pictures on the scoreboard. For those that did not get a chance to listen to the broadcast on KMOX last night, I know you guys were doing a lot of special things as well, and that's going to continue into the weekend, correct?
Yes. There's a lot of things going on this weekend. With regard to a service, though, for Mike, there won't be one. His family, his kids are going to be in town. They'll have a suite. They'll come to the game on Saturday. I think his wife's coming too. But there won't be any formal service. He didn't want it. He didn't want it.
But if you have a chance to listen to the broadcast this next week on KMOX, you guys are playing a lot of his greatest highlights.
Yeah, we call it Moments with Mike.
Yeah.
And Ben Boyd has gone through a bunch of them, and we just air them. And whether he's laughing or giving a play-by-play or whatever the case is, maybe he's interviewing somebody. I think last night we ran the one with Willie McGee. So they used to talk about two-strike approach, and they go around the room, and they'd ask different coaches and whomever, how did you handle the two-strike approach? So they got to Willie, and Willie said, well, the way I handle the two-strike approach, I never let it get to two strikes. And for some reason, that just had Mike just cackling, man, to the point where, if he's known for a lot of things, whether it's get up, baby, or hello, big boy, or whatever, I think his laugh was so infectious.
Mm-hmm.
And you could hear it from miles away. I remember the first guy who used to impersonate him, Craig Hawksley, and he kind of had it down when he was impersonating Mike. And if you don't have the laugh down, you don't have Mike Shannon.
It was last night I was at the game with my son, and they were showing highlights from days when he wasn't even alive yet, so stuff that he had never seen before. And the Albert home run off of Kerry Wood,
that's one of my favorites.
Watching
hello 4th of July.
Shannon,
it's amazing how he weaves certain dates and places in.
He's shit talking Kerry Wood the whole time. Albert's running around the bases.
I mean, he was. I mean, listen, man. There's never been a more passionate Cardinal. And if you mess with one Cardinal, you might as well mess with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was its way. I mean, there's so many of those sort of stories about him, but that's probably one of my favorite calls. There have been some other ones, but just sitting in the booth with him and just hearing him talk between innings about this and that, and he'd be all over the place. And then he'd say, "Well, you know what I'm talking about." No, I don't, Mike. I'm trying to fill in the blank here. So it's so those sort of things, and with John Rooney and I and Jim Jackson, man, we had a whole lot of fun with him for all those reasons, and he loved Jim Jackson. He told John and I, he said, "Hey, the most important guy in this booth is Jim Jackson." He said, "You make sure whatever he needs from you, you make sure you can acquiesce." He said, "Because without him, we have no broadcast."
Man.
And Jim's demeanor is perfect. Which, by the way, Jim Jackson should be in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. When you think about his contribution to broadcasting over 40 years as an engineer, and if you don't think a good engineer is invaluable, try doing a game without one. Mm-hmm. So he should be in, and hopefully at some point soon he will be.
We have a lot of other tributes up on Claibs Online right now for Mike Shannon. I know the commish Rick Hummel wrote about it, kind of gave a few excerpts from the book that he and Mike just wrote together in the last couple of years. That book also available for purchase. You can go on Amazon and find that right now. Also, Commish and I talked about him, told a few stories about him. So you have Rick Hummel and also Bob Ramsey telling stories about Mike Shannon, all of that up right now on claibsonline.com. So
I'm gonna send you these photos we're gonna put up. Some moments in the booth with Mike. Ben Boyd has some of them. He posted some of them. I'll send them to you as well. And I think once you see them, you'll get a big kick out of them.
We'll get those posted up online as well. Hey, let's take a break, reset the show when we come back. A little bit of a historic night at Busch Stadium this evening, and we will talk about what we will see out on the field tonight here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe. Powered by Ameren, sponsored by Gray Bar, and also driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura.
Can Gray Bar help my electrical and datacom jobs be more productive?
Yep, our supply chain services are designed to do just that.
Like job site services?
Yep, we deliver the products you need where and when you need them, no matter your industry.
What if I have technical questions?
Yep, our specialists are top-notch.
Emergency support?
Yep, even after hours.
They're a unicorn.
When you need to keep your projects productive and profitable, rely on Gray Bar to help you get the job done right. No unicorns required. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Back here, Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com, powered by Ameren and also sponsored by Gray Bar. Hey, we're also driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Alton Toyota. If you're looking to plan your summer vacations, your summer road trips, go to altontoyota.com and check out the rental car options that they have. I'm actually going to be renting one this weekend, new RAV4. That's what they have, brand new. They have 2022, 2023s that they're putting you behind the wheel of and letting you rent those for less than what you would go to to one of the big dealers. One of the big rental car dealers for, so you can go and rent that. I think they're giving me one of the new RAV4s this weekend, and you can see what else they have at Munganess Alton Toyota. I know we have a baseball tournament up in Iowa in June. I think I'm going to get one of the new Siennas for that. And those new Siennas, Claibs, if you haven't seen those yet or heard about them, they are the hybrids. So you have a minivan that's getting you about 50 to 60 miles per gallon. So that's,
wow.
That makes for a real nice long, that makes for those nice long road trips to get done even quicker when you're stopping less and less for gas. And you can check those out at altontoyota.com.
Well, I've had great experiences with those cars going back and forth from Florida. So I always want to remind people, when you go to Alton Toyota, Munganess, Burkhardt, They have better selection than you're going to find a lot of places in town. I know the supply chain issue is still one of concern, but they have just an incredible selection. People who really know what they're doing as they talk to you, or you can go online and shop as well. But the bottom line is, between the pre-owned cars and the new cars that they have, I don't know if there's going to be a better place in town that's going to give you what you're looking for.
Claibs, tonight it is game 2 of 3 against the Los Angeles Angels. By the way, this series, the first time in baseball history that the Angels and the Cardinals have faced each other without Albert Pujols in the lineup for either team. Saw that stat last night. So think about that, how long Albert played the game and how few times these two teams have actually played each other, to think that it spanned that man's entire career. But tonight we will see another future Hall of Famer.
You hope?
I mean, as of right now, as of today, as of May 3rd, 2023, Claibs, for what we have seen out of Shohei Ohtani, would you say that he is going to be in Cooperstown?
No, he hadn't played long enough.
Okay. So you need.
He's gotten off to a good start. I think if you're going to be a Hall of Famer, you have to play at least 8 to 9 years.
Okay.
Minimum. Because there's a lot of guys who got off to great starts in their careers only for them to be curtailed because of injury or lack of skill. But he has a chance. I'm not telling you he doesn't, but he's got to play a little longer in order for me to be considering.
Yeah. Well, his
number.
numbers.
But there's another Hall of Famer on the field, and that's Mike Trout.
Yeah, Mike Trout is a lock. Mike Trout is definitely in there for the he has his spot already claimed in Cooperstown. Last night DH'd, so didn't get a chance to see him out in the field. But tonight it'll be Shohei DHing and starting for the Angels. I mean, Claibs, I know you guys will have the stats there in front of you, but I'm assuming this is the first time in the history of Busch Stadium that that it was a DH, that a pitcher DH'd and batted top 2 in the lineup.
I can't recall any other time, considering we've had so few DHs play here.
I'm just saying a pitcher. I mean, all the times. I mean that a pitcher at Busch Stadium batted.
I've never seen it.
Right.
No, I've never seen it. So yeah, it's a first, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if the Cardinal hitters are, but I'm looking forward. But in fairness, good players like playing other good players.
Mm-hmm.
At least they used to. Now they want to be on the same team with them. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. There'll be a buzz in the ballpark tonight, and I know there were still some tickets available today.
Yeah, a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night game with the team off to their worst start in over 50 years to sell out Busch Stadium tonight kind of shows you just how important Shohei Ohtani is, and what that people are going to be flocking there to see him pitch this evening. I think last night you talk to him every day, so I saw the press conference last night after the game with Ali Marmol. I imagine it's not the first time that he has shown frustration, but it's the first time I feel like we saw it on TV cameras after the loss last night. What are you sensing? What are you feeling when you chat with him every day?
It's a good question. I'll say this. I think he's been the most transparent manager I've talked to. I mean, no matter what happens the night before, he's got the same approach and attitude, very professional, understands you have to ask tough questions, and tries to give you the best honest answer he can give you. But yeah, I know he's frustrated. The road trip, and that's the thing. When you're on a road trip with a guy like that, you really appreciate it because, it's us against the world at that point. But yeah, I think he's frustrated because you know what? It's one pitch, 2 pitches, one that you don't hit and one you don't make for a strike is what's costing the Cardinals right now. I mean, it's not anything like the defense is sloppy or they can't hit or anything along that line. It's just 1 or 2 things. I mean, let's face it. If Arenado's swinging the bat better, I think we'd be in a better situation. But not to put it all on him, because Tyler O'Neill is going to run away with the strikeout championship this year if he keeps this up. So, it's not one guy.
I don't think he's going to have the opportunities every day to run away with a strikeout title if he keeps playing the way he does. They'll find somebody to replace him in the lineup real quick and save him a few of those strikeouts.
Well, it's a situation that doesn't have a simple and easy answer. I mean, people say we got to get a new manager. All right, well, who you plan on getting? I heard Tony was retired. Whitey doesn't work anymore. So who do you want? I mean, any good manager is already working, isn't he?
I'm not going to sit here and ask you to give me names of somebody to replace Ali Marmol.
You know why? Because I don't have any. You can ask me. I'll just tell you, I don't have any.
So the one I'll throw out one name just to. In a situation like this, when you are replacing in times when you have seen a young manager get replaced, you usually see a old school veteran brought in to the mix to kind of give it a new sense. The name that's out there that I would consider, that I would think would be a name out there, would be Joe Madden.
Interesting call. And knowing his affection for the Cardinals, here's what Joe Madden would get himself in trouble. The Cardinals, as you probably know, are analytically driven.
Yes.
Joe Madden is vehemently opposed to analytics having the sort of impact that it has on the game. So I'm not sure if that would be a good mix.
And that would be why it would not be a long-term fix. But I'm just saying, if you want to shock the system, if it gets to the point where a change that the Cardinals feel a change needs to be made,
it won't happen.
Season, but yeah, second
year. Here's why
it
won't happen. Second year in, that would tell me that John Mozeliak would have fired 3 managers since Tony has left.
Yeah.
What guy has a chance to fire 3 managers and still keep a job himself?
Yeah.
Even though he signed a contract extension. So let's just take all that off the table because those things are unrealistic. I think the question is, how do you address the roster? Your pitching has been subpar. Getting a little better, but not to the point where it can save you. Guys you really pinned your hopes on. We just mentioned Tyler O'Neill isn't producing. Nolan Arenado isn't producing. You got too many guys at one position. You have a catcher that's really trying to figure out how he can contribute. So there's a lot of things, but the problem is none of those things have a direct answer where we can trade this guy or we can get rid of him or we can cut him. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So they got to be creative in how they try and fix this. You got a guy, Matthew Liberatore, who's pitching extremely well down in Memphis. You sent Zach Thompson out so he can stretch out to be a starter. So they have some options, and I think they want to maintain the options internally before they go out on the market because they have to figure out what they are willing to move and what are you trying to get in return.
And that's just all over the place when you look at positions that need to be fixed and you look at what options are out there. There's no, if there's a free agent pitcher out there, there's a reason he's a free agent pitcher.
There you go.
You're not, you're
but
not.
By the way,
but you in the past, you have had we have seen the Cardinals go out there and bring a guy in who was the Jay Happ from a few years ago, came in, pitched okay. Wade LeBlanc came in, pitched okay before he got hurt. The Cardinals have done this before. But you need
something with a little bit more muscle to him, though.
Exactly.
Time.
So
see, we don't need to get another 5-inning pitcher.
No,
because you got Jake Woodford, you got Steven Matz, you're about to have Adam Wainwright. Those guys are 5 and flies. Okay, and that's
Matthew
what chews up. I got to take a look at him because at some point he's done all he could do in the minors.
Right. That's
you might as well run him out there.
Right, that's your next option instead of signing a free agent or going out there and getting a guy that was just DFA'd. It's Matthew Liberatore. You got to give him a shot.
You got to do it sooner than later, too.
Hey, yeah, 10 and 20 right now. I mean, you look at what this team, what you have to do. If you think 87 games is going to get you the NL Central, 88 games is going to get you the NL Central. If you're assuming the Pirates fall off a bit, when you're 10 and 20, getting the 88 is not going to be easy at all.
Well, but, here's the other thing we got to take into account. I know there was a stat, no team has started off 10 and 20 has ever made the playoffs. Well, you got the 2 extra teams, you got the extra wild card spot. That changes the game completely. So there could be a team that could get off on that network and get it going. So I'm not going to dispel that. I think that we have to just take a long, hard look at this situation. But you got to start, and you can't win this overnight. You got to start just You got to start winning 2 out of 3, sweeping. And that's something they haven't been able to do. There is time. It's going to be hard, but you know what? Anything worth having, I think you have to pay a price for.
When we talk about players being DFA'd, and it just, it always happens when a player gets DFA'd, you think, is that going to be a guy for this team? And we've talked a lot about the backup catcher position. Gary Sanchez was released today or yesterday. I just want to point out he hit 164 in AAA, and the reason he was released was because he couldn't make the Giants roster, the San Francisco Giants roster, by May 1st. So when you see the name Gary Sanchez out there, and you remember that he had 1.5 good seasons with the Yankees, remember there's a reason why he's now, a free agent.
Why he and Madison Bumgarner are playing catch.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I know Bumgarner had the issue with Wilson Contreras when they were here, but bringing him in, knowing you're not paying his full salary, is
so he can't pitch. He can't pitch. He's getting lit up.
And that's, I'm just asking if that's something. I mean, we saw Dave Duncan resurrect so many careers back in the day.
Well, I don't know if we have a first-year pitching coach who can resurrect anybody at this point.
And my thinking was
that's not an option. If he was an option, he would have been signed by now by somebody else.
I mean, he's got the relationship with Wainwright. I know that. If that's just anything that could spark a couple good starts out of him,
when you say has a relationship with him, they talk, they're buddies. I don't know how that translates into him being more than a 5-inning pitcher. We already have one, and that's Wainwright.
Right.
So, let's take the personal side out of it, because you know what? Here's the other thing this team could use. They could use a rusty nail. Whether it was like John Lackey or Russ Springer and guys of the past who came in not necessarily with a chip on their shoulder, but because they came from another organization, they didn't give a crap about anybody. They just went out and said and did what they wanted to do, and nobody was going to stop them.
When are we expected to see Wainwright this weekend?
Probably Friday.
Okay.
Probably Friday, Saturday at the latest.
Okay.
And we'll see what that does. I mean, let's face it, the reports have not been favorable. Now, if you listen to him, he's got an excuse for everything as far as why things aren't working. But nobody wants to account for the fact that he's 41, 42 years old. And last check, Nolan Ryan's not playing anymore. I mean, I know you got some guys that are getting there, but they don't have the effectiveness. And I think if Adam Wainwright hasn't fixed some things, and he says he has, this could be ugly. This could get out of hand quickly. And then everybody's going to be looking at each other saying, why did anybody think this was a good idea?
We will have tickets to give away later on today on our social media pages for a game this weekend. The Tigers are in town. We mentioned a future Hall of Famer, Mike Trout, is in town right now. A future Hall of Famer is coming to town this weekend in Miguel Cabrera. I would imagine the Cardinals are going to do something to honor Miguel Cabrera for his career this weekend. I don't know if you have any insight on what day that might be, or
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Because
it's probably would be on Sunday, the final day.
Yeah. What would you get if you had to give Miguel Cabrera something from the Cardinals organization, or just to send him off into retirement? What would you give Miguel Cabrera?
Man, that's a good question.
Framed photo of the 2006 World Series final out.
I would probably give him something, maybe a portrait. Commission someone to do a portrait of him.
Yeah,
hang up in his house. Because what we saw with Albert last year was borderline embarrassing. What the Atlanta Braves gave him last year was embarrassing.
A bushel of peaches and a bushel of
peanuts.
Presented by Marcelo Zuna.
You talk about wanting to throw up that night. They could have passed a hat in the clubhouse and just said, "Hey, here's X amount of cash to your foundation."
I think that was my favorite gift he got, because it was so stupid, and I would have loved to see Albert's reaction in the dugout in the locker room, looking at that and going, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this?" Like, you talk about the clubhouse attendants or the travel assistants that have to put the stuff on the plane. I don't think those bushels made it on the plane that
why
that
would
day,
they?
Claibs.
I don't recall seeing them. I wouldn't.
My favorite gift, because I do enjoy when players are getting these retirement tours and they're getting gifts. My favorite gift of all time, though, I don't know if you remember when Mariano Rivera was when he was retiring, the Minnesota Twins made a rocking chair out of broken bats for him. Out of because Mariano Rivera, all the bats he broke over his career, the Twins had a rocking chair made of broken bats and presented it to him. I thought that's was cute. One of them. Yeah, that's a clever gift that he could, you could just put in the corner of the man cave.
I would agree.
But check out the socials for myself and Claibs Online. We'll give away tickets to one of those games this weekend. Your last chance to see Miguel Cabrera play a Major League Baseball game. Let's take a break. We have a very exciting NBA and NHL playoffs going on right now to take your mind off of Cardinal baseball, and we will talk about those when we come back right here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Munganast St. Louis Acura, and sponsored by Gray Bar.
I guess I'll just say welcome back, everyone. We have a connection issue with Joe Roderick that'll be remedied here any minute, so we'll have him back on. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs. They've been pretty good so far. A little bit of a surprise in how things started with Boston and Philadelphia without Joel Embiid. That's going to be a good series. I think that Philadelphia has the ability to wear down Boston. Boston is just a little sluggish right now. And the Embiid factor will now come into play, so they're going to have their hands full. I am not surprised that Milwaukee and the Knicks have split. Milwaukee, one of the better defensive teams and one of the better coached teams in the NBA, winning the Madison Square Garden. By the way, Joe, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why is Madison Square Garden considered the most famous sports arena in America, in the world?
Because 50 years ago, the biggest things in all of sports were happening there. That's where all the big boxing matches were. That's the Knicks were relevant, the Rangers were relevant, and it's still there.
You just touched on it. 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And they've refurbished it. I don't find, how many championship banners do they have hanging from there? One for the Rangers, two for the Knicks. That's it.
It's something special about when you walk in there and you know the history of it. I think is what it is. It's
what history? They haven't won anything. They haven't won. They haven't won more. They haven't won more than the Lakers. They haven't won more than the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics and the Bruins in the TD Gardens Arena has won more in that building than the Knicks have in the 100 years it's been there.
Right. It's the fact that, it's why Wrigley was so special to so many people for a century before they finally won a World Series there. It's the fact that it had been around for so long and people have fond memories from times they were in there.
Memories of losing.
I've been in Madison Square Garden for 2 events, and both times I enjoyed just being in there, walking around and kind of taking everything in.
Okay.
I managed to sneak in the suites both times too. So I'm 2 for 2 with that.
I'm missing out on this aura of Madison Square Garden.
Maybe you're just not going to the right events there. When's the last time you were at Madison Square Garden?
Last year when Steph Curry broke the record.
Okay. That's not special that you were there to see.
He could have broke that record anywhere.
Right, but he broke it at Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
Michael Jordan had some of the best games of his career at Madison. Yeah, it's not a Knicks memory.
He had 55 one night.
It's not a Knicks memory, but it's still it happened there at Madison Square Garden.
See, those things happen in other arenas too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been more things that have happened in the crypto, whatever they call it now. More things have happened there than's ever happened at the Garden. And when you talk about concerts and events, these are tours. These people perform all over the world.
But I mean, Elton John has sold it out how many times? And he has a banner up there
bully
saying
for
how many
him.
times he sold it out. No, Billy
Okay.
Joel. Wait, is it Billy Joel that sold
Billy
it out?
Joel.
Or who has
Billy
the banner
Joel.
up in Madison Square Garden?
Billy Joel.
Okay, Jay-Z
You know why he's got a banner up there?
Jay-Z has the banner up at Barclays, right?
You know why he has the banner up there? Because they don't have any other championship banners to hang. That's why he got a banner up there. They got
John Cena returned at the Royal Rumble from injury at Madison Square Garden. I mean, so hey, I mean, I haven't heard. Is Embiid playing game 2? Have we?
It looks like he's going to play.
Okay,
but you know what? He might be a game time decision.
I don't think the Sixers sneak away with another victory if the Embiid's not. I don't think Harden does what he does 2 games in a row.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
let's move on to the other conference games. Denver and Phoenix. That's going to be a scuffle. I know Phoenix feels good. I mean, Denver feels good about themselves. But man, Phoenix, when they get it going, they're going to be pretty hard to stop, especially at home.
They haven't gotten it started yet, though.
I think that's going to be a 7-game series.
They fell apart in the fourth quarter of that last game.
I think it's going to be a 7-game series. Lakers and Golden State is a head scratcher to me. Looney was dominant in Game 7 against Memphis, but then again, he wasn't dealing with Anthony Davis. You know, Davis played his best game of the playoffs. And,
let me ask you, talk about hanging stuff in the rafters. LeBron yesterday, after Anthony Davis's game, said that number 3 will be retired by the Lakers, talking about Anthony Davis's jersey being retired. You know, you already said Shohei hasn't done enough to be a Hall of Famer yet. Has Anthony Davis done enough? Has Anthony Davis done enough to get his jersey retired by the Lakers?
Nope.
Yeah. If he wins a ring this year, if they win another ring this year,
nope.
Has LeBron done enough to win get his jersey retired by the Lakers?
Well, I think he has it working because he's the all-time scorer, and he did it in a Laker uniform.
Yeah.
And his rest of his body of work will put him on the rafters.
That one, you talk. I mean, what happened the last 3 games of their series against the Kings? I mean, it was a head scratcher then too, because it followed the script for the first 4 games.
Yeah,
the Warriors lose at home, they win they win at home, they lose on the road, and then Game 5 comes, they get a victory. It's up in Sacramento, and then they come back, knock them off in Game 6 before they go out and blow them out in the final game. So. Yeah. Everything the Warriors have been doing lately is a complete head scratcher.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that. All right, let's switch to the NHL for a minute, which I think has been the most compelling playoff we've seen so far. You know, you get the number 1 seed in Boston, they're home. Stanley Cup champions, they're at home. The New York Rangers loaded up at the end of the season with Tarasenko and
Jonathan Taves.
Or
Patrick Kane. I'm sorry.
They're sitting at home watching postseason on TV. And, you know, I think quietly, there's a lot of people rooting for Edmonton and Toronto. You know, Toronto hasn't been to the Cup since '67, let alone won it.
Toronto had won a first-round matchup since 2004.
Yeah.
When they did, which I saw somebody say the reason they lost last night was because it was the 7th game of their postseason. And they weren't used to used to winning that.
This is uncharted territory for sure. And Edmonton features some exciting players offensively, but the problem would be that'd be a network nightmare because you won't have ratings numbers because you can't use the Nielsen numbers for Canada. But I think from a best team standpoint, it would be a lot of fun to watch. I'm anxious to see it. But there's a lot of work to be done because Florida's not going away quietly. I'm not the biggest fan of Matthew Tkachuk, but I tip my cap to how he's pulled that team together. He's a really good player.
So you talk about the TV ratings, and yes, you wouldn't have United States markets there to really pump them up if that were to happen. But hockey fans, if you got 2 Canadian teams or just 1 Canadian team in there, knowing how long it's been since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup, I feel like hockey fans would still, in the U.S., would still go to their TVs and want to see if that streak would finally end.
Here's the problem with that, and I agree with you. I don't know if there are enough hockey fans.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who support their teams. I'll give you a good example. There are more Blues fans in St. Louis than there are hockey fans.
Mm-hmm.
That when your team is out of it, you move on to something else. And I just don't know if you have enough people who are purists who will watch no matter who it is. And I think that's going to be a challenge in how they do things. But, it's going to be fun. They're doing the games have been compelling. They've been fun to watch, and it's only going to get better. So we'll see what happens.
And last night, I mean, you have two of the two lower seeds surprise the favorites again. So I mean, round 2 starting off the same way.
Yeah.
Round 1 ended. It has been a lot of fun to follow this, and I think too, I'm enjoying these playoffs, the NHL playoffs, more this year than I have at any point in the last 5+ years, because I think it's because the Blues aren't in there. Because you're not putting your schedule on, okay, Blues are on, I'm watching that, I'm following that. Now it's just every night, hey, what 2 games are on?
I agree.
What's on? Who's playing? I don't care who wins. I have no.
You have no dog in the fight. Yeah,
right.
You're right.
You're just watching hockey, and with the way the Blues have broken up their roster over the last 3 years, there's a Blues player on every night too. So you could still sit there and you can watch somebody from that 2019 team play hockey.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different tone for sure. And I think that for us as hockey fans, we're being rewarded with good play.
Yeah. So, Claibs, I know you got to run down to the stadium tonight. What do you have planned for pregame this evening? Shohei Day in St. Louis.
I am interviewing a retiring general from St. Louis who served multiple tours in the Middle East. I'll also talk to the manager, get his thoughts on what to look for tonight. And you just never know who shows up in our booth. That's the other thing. I mean, this time of the year, we get a lot of people showing up. So who knows? We'll have to see.
Saw you guys had Ozzy in the booth last night.
Yeah, Ron Krzyzewski was there as well. He's the man that runs Stiefel, and they made a commitment to have their patch on the sleeve of the Cardinal uniform, and so we had him up there. So, it's that time of the year we're going to have people dropping in.
And if you notice on the patch too, for those watching right now at home, the patch is going to alternate. It's going to be on different sides for different players. So not the same side. It's whatever arm is facing the pitcher for hitters out there. So that's why you will see it jump from arm to arm for certain guys. It depends on what side of the plate they bat from. So if
you are correct.
Yeah. So if you're in the market looking for that and you're wondering why that is the case. And that Stiefel patch will be on all 4 of the different Cardinal jerseys. And then whatever the City Connect jersey is that they debut next year for the Redbirds. That I know you are so excited about, Claibs, whenever that one comes out.
I have just moved on from it. We should say that for the beginning of the show. Don't get me started on it.
Claibs, we are going to wrap things up here. As we said, all kinds of stuff honoring and remembering Mike Shannon available on claibsonline.com. We're going to get those pictures up there as well so folks can see some of the memories from the booth and some of your interactions with Big Irish over the many years that you two knew each other. So look for that on claibsonline.com. We want to thank all of our sponsors here once again, Gray Bar, Munganess St. Louis Acura, and Ameren, Illinois. Gray Bar, they're a Fortune 500 company with headquarters here in St. Louis and actually all over the place. If you are looking for a job, check out Gray Bar's website. They are located in 49 states, so you don't have to be a St. Louis resident or you don't have to be looking for a job in St. Louis to work for Gray Bar, a Fortune 500 company right here in St. Louis. We all use the internet. Claibs Online, it's all on the internet. We need Gray Bar to keep up and running, and we thank them for being a part of everything we do here on Claibs Online. He is Mike Claiborne. I am Joe Roderick. We will talk to you next time right here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe.
As one of St. Louis's fastest growing companies and largest private companies, St. Louis Acura is proud to serve you and remains committed to becoming better than ever for you. As new Acuras become more available every day, we are not backing down from selling 100% more quality pre-owned vehicles than ever before. We want customers that appreciate our friendly, outgoing team and our award-winning service because at St. Louis Acura, we are better than ever for you.
There's always been a bright side to living in downstate Illinois. Ameren, Illinois is making it even brighter with a little help from the sun. Right now, we're building a next-generation solar facility to bring you cleaner energy for generations to come. It's good for the environment, your neighborhood, and everyone living in downstate Illinois. That's brighter thinking. That's energy at work. Learn how you can participate in solar programs at AmerinIllinois.com/renewables.